It is your thought you're looking at. You weren't looking at a condition. You were looking at your own thought about what you thought was a condition. Your thought was the tempter. And it was your thought that made you believe you had this terrible condition. And you couldn't get out of that web because all you had to work with was your own thought. And yet that condition, which either terrorized you or made you react in some convulsive way, that condition was your own thought projection. God didn't put it there. Who did? World mind. And functioning in you as that particular picture or condition that you thought was out there. The more you dwell upon it, you'll discover that out there was in your thought. That's how close the tempter is. Your thought. Because it's human thought. You see why we have said that as long as you dwell in that human mind, you're going to be fooled? It's going to fool you with its great intelligence. All of your problems are in your thought. God did not make them, and further, God didn't make the human mind that entertains the belief in them. Now then, when you overcome your thought, it will be because you have accepted your identity. I, Christ, am incapable of human thought. How can you think humanly and be I, Christ? And therefore, I, Christ, makes you reach the place where you're willing to yield human thought. You won't do this until everything else fails. But when everything else fails, and this is called to your attention, you'll begin to want to do it, to yield human thought. We could use fancy words like transcend, but doesn't it mean to yield human thought, to surrender human thought? When you surrender it, you've transcended it. And so, right here, where I stand, is human thought which wants to tempt me into a continuation of a human life. It wants me to keep within a dying body and a dying mind. Human thought is going to maintain me in a dying body and a dying mind. And the very mind that is going to die is trying to keep me in human thought. The very mind over which I was so elated when the IQ test said this was so high, or this mind is so intelligent, or this is a special mind, that very mind is going to die. Can it be the mind of the Father? Can it be the Christ mind? Then why should I live in it? And so right here I look at my own human thought, and all of the overcoming I ever had to do was not the conditions of the world, but my own human thought. That's where you overcome. To detach from your human thought, to step back, to create your mental vacuum. Everything is leading you to the stillness of the human mind. For when the human mind is still, behold, I come, whose right it is to sit upon the throne. In the stillness of the human mind, you are Christed. Divine thought supersedes all of the finite sense concepts that well up to tempt us in our own human thought. You'll notice in this chapter, Joel mentioned that, it may be in this chapter, maybe not, that unless you have a lot of meditations during the day, frequent ones, you're going to be unable to cope with the continuous world thought that is ever encroaching involuntarily into your daily existence. It's a 24-hour thing. And unless you are having frequent meditations in the knowledge of divine self, creating the vacuum of human thought to let the light of divine self express, you'll find that without any volition on your part, you are tempted to live in a world that God did not create. And so in order to have frequent meditations, he suggests shortening your meditations. We all like the luxury of sitting back for 30 or 40 minutes. But often when we do that, we find the first few minutes may or may not be productive, and the rest is just a sort of a lazy man's habit. We like to stay there because it's pleasant. But we're not alert and alive to Christ always in these long meditations. In fact, we tend to fall into a lethargy. And so Joel has said that if you're not getting the results you want, check it out that way, and you'll find that if you'll go to a 1.5 minute to 3 minute silence, that will be all you need. But come back again and again and again. It's the frequency of these 1.5 to 3 minute silences that seems to short-circuit world thought, so that every now and then through the day you're remembering who you are. And then the subtle alchemy of the Spirit floats in out of nowhere, without rhyme or reason that the human mind can detect, and yet there you are, feeling the invisible Spirit as a living presence, a living intelligence, moving you, touching you, gently leading you. The guidance is so clear. And it even performs the work. You can take all the credit humanly, but you know that it performs the work. It never performs the work for a human being. That's the catch. It only performs the work for I, Christ. Now, who opposes you in this world? What conditions oppose you, and what persons? Have we not said that I, Christ, is the universal self? Now, what persons do you know then? There aren't any. I, Christ, is the identity where you have found persons. Wasn't I, Christ, the identity of the thief on the cross? Even of Judas and of the adulteress? Didn't the Master send Judas out to betray him? Here, take this up and do what thou must. Why? There was no Judas. There's no thief on the cross. There's no adulteress. You have no one opposing you. Only in the false sense of self. Step out of it. Step out of your false sense of self and out of their false sense of self into the one invisible self, I, Christ. Here I, Christ. There I, Christ. Who opposes you? They oppose only your false sense of you. And it is their false sense of them opposing the false sense of you. In other words, the arm of flesh. But is not one with God a majority? One with God means I, Christ, here and there, and one with the Father. And that is the meaning of not being tempted. Now rest in I, Christ, here and there, one with the Father, There is no opposition. I will not accept the temptation of opposition. I rest in universal identity as I, Christ, and that is the identity of those who appear to be my opposers. That is the identity and the reality of these things which appear to be opposing conditions. And don't stop at the talk stage or the thought stage. That's just opening the door to resting in the knowledge that I, Christ, here and there, am the only living identity. There is no second. I am all there is. There's not even a human here where I stand, let alone there where they stand. All there is the living Spirit of God. Now rest in the Word and abide with patience no matter what the outer circumstances continue to be. You will discover opposing persons and opposing circumstances, even if they appear to be successful, are still a successful lie. They never exist. And even their apparent success will ultimately turn to your ultimate triumph. It must, because I, Christ, has already overcome the world. I, Christ, has nothing to overcome. And the moment you have something to overcome, you have lost your priceless heritage as the child of God. You've got to climb your mountaintop all over again. Get thee behind me, Satan, is what you say to your opposing conditions, your opposing persons, and you say that in your mind to your thought, to the thought in you which says you have opposition. To that thought you say, oh no, I recognize you. You are the tempter. You are the liar. You are the Antichrist. You have no existence, and I need not accept and dare not accept that which you are presenting to me as my own thought. You have overcome your own thought. And you'll find that all your opponents and all the opposing conditions existed right here in your thought and nowhere else. Closer than your thought, closer than your hands and feet, closer than your breathing is I, Christ. You see how you come right back to the Father's house where you stand? Ultimately never to venture out again. Now what power have we used? None. What have we defended against? Nothing. We have rested in truth. I am that self which is the self of the Father everywhere, and beside that self there is no other. The secret of no power is one universal I, Christ. And the secret of problems is the belief that beside one universal I, Christ, there is another or many others. Now that's not complicated. There's not much to remember. It's not a lot of words. It's not a lot of truth. It's a way you live. And as you develop the habit of living that way, you'll find the secret of no power is your own identity realized as the invisible identity of the universe.